I efrenda kamayo, nusondro hefre, kiaru komoye, nasando no he. Are you wondering what language I was just speaking in? That, my friends, is light language. I started speaking it over 6 years ago, and in this video, I'm going to share everything that I've learned about it with you. What it is, where it comes from, how it works, how you can use it, and I'm also going to guide you through an exercise that will teach you how you can understand this beautiful language yourself. Hi, my name is Vicky Lynn. I'm a healing sound artist who works with vocal frequencies and light language to inspire spiritual growth. On this channel, I share my music and I explore the topic of healing from an energetic and spiritual perspective to help people overcome their everyday life challenges from the inside out. I received my light language back in 2017, and I worked with it for more than 6 years personally before I felt comfortable coming out with it publicly. There are a few reasons for this. The first one was because I was afraid of being seen as a nutcase. Secondly, I didn't know how my light language was affecting other people. And lastly, I wanted to find my own artistic style of presenting it that was different from what's already out there. So I took the time to figure out all of that, and now I'm finally ready to share with you what I've learned. What is light language? Light language is the language of the soul. It's how the soul communicates information carried in energy that is coming from higher spiritual realms. It does this by expressing it through the human body in different forms of light language. Languages that we are used to, like English, are what I consider as linear languages. These languages are very straightforward, and your mind can easily break them down, analyze them to understand them. So it makes it a very left brain oriented language. Light language, on the other hand, is the opposite. It is multidimensional, which really just means that there are many layers to it. It's not something your mind can easily understand because it's highly creative, artistic, emotional, and it's constantly changing. It's dynamic. So this makes it a very right brain oriented language. Whether it's English or whether it's light language, it really just comes down to a different way of communicating and connecting. There are 4 common forms of expression for light language. They are speaking, Kisantanyo kitreri, uyahere almayo, nasatanyo idrere, kuyamayandere, nasando yumure, singing and or vocal toning, signing using hand or body movements, and writing using symbols and drawings. Let me know in the comments below which one you are drawn to and like the most. All of these different forms of expression for light language is basically the body taking in invisible and inaudible frequencies and turning them into something that you can see and you can hear. Did you know that as a human being, we have a very small range of frequencies that we can actually see and hear? Take a look at this illustration. This illustration maps out the range of energy frequencies that make up our world. And on this entire line, this tiny little section is what we can see as human beings. This is what we can hear. Everything else here, here, and here, we don't have the ability to perceive. The point I want to make with that illustration is just to show you that there is so much going on around here that we simply just don't have any awareness of. And if it wasn't for something like light language, all of the information carried in those invisible frequencies would simply slip through human consciousness and disappear into space. Where does light language come from? I'm going to use an example to help you understand where light language comes from. Here, we have a cell tower. It pumps out a lot of invisible frequencies into the environment all the time. Those frequency waves are carrying information, which is represented by this zip file. Nothing really happens though, as they float around in the air until we have this, a cell phone that can pick up on those frequency waves and translate the information carried by them, giving you instant entertainment, such as this video you're watching. You don't see these invisible frequencies floating around in the air, but you know it's real and you know that it carries information because how else would you be able to watch this video on your device through Wi-Fi, right? Well, it's the same idea when it comes to light language, except we're going to replace the cell phone with me, and the cell tower becomes an unknown source for now, which I'll get to in a moment. When the information carried by these energy waves from this unknown place reaches me, I can pick it up, translate that information, and give you light language. Does that make sense? I really hope so, and if it does, let me know this way. Now, I know you really want to know where this unknown source is, and I do want to give you an exact location. However, the honest truth is the place where I tap into to access this energy, there are no boundaries, no borders, no physical form. There's no street signs, and definitely no call display. All I can say is that I act like a radio antennae. I turn the dial on the radio until I come across a station that is playing frequencies I want to listen to. When I listen to those frequencies, I get a full body sensory experience as those vibrations move through my nervous system. Based on what I can feel from that, I can then narrow it down to a general genre, like angelic, for example. And that is just based on how it sounds to me and how it feels to me. But it's not like I can tell you the name of the angel, what the angel is wearing, its hairdo, or even the number of dimension that it's coming from. At least that's not how it works for me. As a matter of fact, I personally think that when we try to label and categorize things that way, it's a very human practice because the ego needs to feel safe and secure by knowing everything. When we label light language from, say, a particular star system or a dimension with a certain number, that makes the ego feel very comfortable, and it also makes the ego feel very special for having access to those exotic and higher levels of reality. And if you think about it, we can really only categorize and label things that we have already discovered, that we know about, and that we understand. In the infinite world of energy frequencies that are available in this universe, there is so much we have yet to discover, things that we don't have words to describe, and places that we can't even wrap our minds around. So how would it be possible for us to label light language from those places that we don't know about? We can't. If I were to honestly answer where light language comes from, then my answer would be, I don't know. I really don't know. All I do know is that it comes from different dimensions that are beyond this physical reality. It could be from one of those common star systems that a lot of people claim their light language is from. But for me personally, I don't have a way of confirming that it's from there. And because of that, I would much rather give you an honest and realistic answer instead of try to sensationalize it that way. How light language works. Light language is an extremely advanced spiritual technology that is just beginning to surface for humanity. It's a combination of sacred geometry, mathematics, colors or light, sound frequencies, and quantum energy. It's all of these things coming together, working together to affect the biology of a person in many different layers and in multiple dimensions. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I am an expert in one of those complicated subjects or even all of them, because I'm really not. As a matter of fact, our scientists are just beginning to study how energy affects the well-being of human beings. So we have a long way to go in terms of understanding the science of spirit. But as an intuitive and sensitive person, I can tell you that when I work with my own light language, I can see different shapes, spirals, patterns, mandalas, colors, and I can hear tones that are beyond this physical dimension. I can also feel a lot of energy move through my nervous system, and those vibrations bring up different types of feelings, emotions, memories, thoughts, and insights into my conscious awareness. Light language bypasses the conscious mind and targets the subconscious mind, which is why it is so effective at addressing certain issues that current healing modalities just can't seem to get any solid and long-term results on. It also brings information carried in energy directly to the cells using sound vibrations, without having to go through the conscious mind first, which we all know is heavily programmed with a lot of limiting beliefs. These limiting beliefs affect our ability to heal and also the type of reality that we create and experience in our life. How to use light language. There are a growing number of people who are speaking light language nowadays and sharing it online, which I think is wonderful. But I do want to mention something important, which is that not all light language is the same, nor do they do the same thing or have the same effects across the board. When it comes to light language, what is being communicated, the purpose of that communication, and what it can do differs very much depending on the person speaking it. The intention, the tones, and the energy imprinted by the speaker really affects the level of power or the lack of power behind light language. There are many ways to use light language, and I'm sure there's going to be even more that will be discovered in the years to come. In this video, I'm just going to talk about 3 that I'm most familiar with and that I personally use. The first one is healing. Healing is a very broad subject, and it can cover so many different things and so many different areas. I'm just going to highlight what it can generally include by giving you 3 examples. The first example is correcting physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual imbalances. These are things like harmonizing your nervous system to reduce stress and anxiety, rewiring your subconscious mind from limiting beliefs that are holding you back in life, clearing energetic blocks in your chakras that are often a result of suppressed emotions, and various types of shamanic work like soul retrievals that are so important to do after going through traumatic experiences in life. As you can see, when it comes to healing imbalances, there's so many things that it can do and so many different areas that it can cover. If you're looking to use light language as a healing tool, I really recommend that you dig around to find someone who resonates with you and can provide you with the type of light language that you actually need. The second example would be activations, which provide the cells in your body with information to awaken forgotten knowledge, abilities, and internal healing processes. The third example would be to use it for healing animals and pets, to help distress babies, and you can also use it in your garden for your plants as well as to heal the land. The second use of light language is as a form of expression. I'll also give you 3 examples of this. The first example is to communicate and express your feelings and emotions. I find that with the English language, it's very limiting to how I can describe my feelings. For example, if I'm feeling sad, I can tell you I'm sad and maybe give you a little bit more information, like I'm sad because someone said something very mean to me and it made me cry. But that's sort of the extent to how the English language can describe our feelings. With light language, though, you can express it this way. Can you tell the difference? I personally find that with light language, there's just so much more depth to that expression. A second example of this would be to use it to help you become more authentic in life and to express who you really are into this world. Because remember, light language is a language of the soul, and there is nothing more genuine than to show your bare soul to the world by expressing it through your own version of light language. The third example would be to express messages from conscious beings in different dimensions. It is only here on planet Earth that we use languages like English to communicate. Everywhere else in this entire universe uses the universal language of energy frequencies, vibrations to communicate. I want to share one of my most favorite quotes from Nikola Tesla with you. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibrations. The third use of light language is to elevate your vibrations in everyday life. I'll give you 3 examples of this as well. You can use light language to bless your food and make it high vibrational by putting light energy into it. You can also use it to structure your water that you drink and bathe with, as well as clear dense energy in a room. Sometimes if you're a very sensitive person, you can walk into a room and you feel this heaviness just hang in the air. And that heaviness is usually because prior to you showing up in that space, somebody else was there, maybe a couple who got into an argument and have imprinted that space with anger, hatred, frustration, and judgment. That heaviness you're feeling is an expression of that energetically, and you can use light language to transmute those low vibrational energies into something that is lighter and more enjoyable. I want to say that when it comes to light language, there are no manuals. So if you're speaking it and you want to learn more about it, I highly recommend that you play around with it, get creative, have fun, explore, and figure out what your version of light language does, because it's going to be different than other people's. Light language is still a very new thing, and we're all trying to figure it out as we go along. I'm sure in another 2 years, if I were to remake this video, I would be able to give you a whole bunch of new things that I've learned about it and discovered about it. How to understand light language. When I first started speaking light language, I tried so hard to translate it word for word into English because that's just how we're taught to understand languages. But after working with it for so many years, I can tell you that if you approach light language this way, it's a guarantee you're not going to understand it. Because light language is not a linear language, it's multidimensional. So we can't use skills that we use to understand linear languages to understand something that is multidimensional. I think the word language in light language really throws people off, especially because when it is spoken, it sounds very similar to traditional human languages. But light language is actually not about the words. It's about the sounds behind the words. To understand light language, you have to become aware of how those sound vibrations affect you and become aware of the different thoughts, memories, feelings, emotions, and insights that surface to your conscious awareness from listening to it. You're going to need to tap into your intuition and feel deeply into it with your body, with your heart, and with your soul. For example, when you listen to an instrumental piece of music, there are no words, only a melody. And yet, even without words, you can somehow intuitively figure out what that piece of music is trying to communicate with you, the general feeling, emotion, and message behind it. I'm going to play you 3 different clips of instrumental music, and I want you to tell me what the general feeling, emotion, and message that you get from these are. Song number 1. Song number 2. Song number 3. What you did right there is exactly what you need to do with light language. Forget that there are even words and just focus on the melody. Allow the sound vibrations of the melody to move through your body and stir things up inside, to bring up different types of thoughts, memories, feelings, emotions, and insights, because that is exactly what light language is trying to communicate to you. This may seem a little bit challenging and abstract, and in a way it is, but that is also because your mind is trying to decode it. Remember, light language is a language of the heart where the soul resides. It's not a language of the mind where the ego lives. Light language is designed purposely to bypass your conscious mind and instead be understood by your subconscious mind. This is why when you listen to light language, a lot of times you get a sense of familiarity, even though you've never heard of it before. This is because the soul, which operates through your heart and your subconscious mind, understands a language and remembers it. As long as your mind is in the driver's seat trying to understand it, then you're never going to tap into the magic of light language. We are so used to having our mind in the driver's seat and guiding us through life, to suddenly kick it out and throw our heart into the driver's seat instead and lead life by our soul. That is a very challenging thing to do and something that is so scary. It's a huge change, but it is also a change that we are here for. If you are really drawn to light language and you want to explore it a little bit more, check out my light language sound healing music over here. I think you'll really enjoy it, so I'll see you over there.